Picture it. You just watched your friend get his neck snapped brutally, and now you're the last one alive on your team. You watched Eggman die. You watched Tails get snatched out of midair. Baldy died because he was forced to watch every season of RuPaul's Drag Race. Truly a fate worse than death. And now, you have to survive all alone until the exit ring pops up. It doesn't happen often, obviously, because 2011X is actually a pretty bad killer, but when it does, it is absolute cinema, the most cinematic thing in this game by far. A fight for your life for extra points in the results screen, which means extra rings and extra cosmetics. But which ones are the best? You know, you fucking suck at the game. That's why you're watching this video. Well, dear viewer, since you are obviously so bad at the game, I'm here to help you make better choices when you play killer. Anyway, this video is actually part 1 of 2 that I'm releasing before 0.2 comes out to celebrate the end of 0.1. So stay tuned for the next one. And without further delay, let's get into the video. That's so fucking cringe, bro. Sonic is the titular character, not really titular, but he is on the title, what the fuck is it called? Thumbnail. He's on the thumbnail, you know, it's a Sonic.exe game. Without the .exe, it's just Sonic. So you would expect him to have, like, the best LMS in the game, yeah, that's not it at all. Here's the thing about Sonic. He already has an extra minute on the timer compared to everyone else, so he's already pretty weak. But on top of that, both of his mobility options are null and void with God's trickery and invisibility. And his only stun is hella predictable. And he takes 56 damage per hit too. So you can see why his last man standing is already pretty weak, right? His dodge, since drop dash is predictable as hell, is basically a once it's gone kind of thing. You're not really gonna get it back. Peel out is almost never able to be used unless the EXE uses God's trickery to find you, which no good EXE is ever going to do. They're just going to use invisibility to find you, so you can't do that. And if you're on Green Hill, it's basically a lose immediately since he has nowhere to run and you can't lose him. So you're going to be in a constant chase. And a constant chase in a character where you already take more damage is not good. He can play perfectly and still lose because of how weak the last man standing actually is. Basically, what I'm saying is Sonic last man standing is not winnable by the average player. And it's still a struggle for really good players, even against mediocre EXEs. Sonic only can get hit 4 times before he's dead. Because he takes 56 damage, he can only get hit 4 times. Well, 3 or 5 if you count dodge. But the 4th hit will kill him. Yeah, he's generally not surviving last. Tails is next up on this list. You know, it's his buddy. You know, you would expect him to be able to throw hands like he did in Sonic the Fighting game that they did in the 90s or early 2000s. But no, not really. Tails' LMS is different from Sonic's in terms of what's difficult, since 2 moves counter the different characters differently. While Sonic is busy being countered with God's trickery and invisibility, Tails' Achilles heel is charge. While you can, yes, stall out their charge with cannon with your iframes, or just cancel it entirely if you time it right, you can't do this every time, since the charge cooldown is actually lower if you cancel it. Lower than your cannon can cool down. The whole last man standing is a 50-50. A game of will they, won't they, if you will. Will Tails shoot and hit the EXE, or will EXE predict that and go invis and waste it? Or will Tails predict the prediction and hold it and make EXE waste invisibility? Or will EXE predict the predicting of the prediction and rush in and hit Tails anyway? Glide also hinges on you knowing when they have charge and when they don't, because otherwise you'll lose your only good mobility option and become a sitting duck if you get snagged out of the air. And your glide can just bug at times too, because it's Tails. Of course it can. Tails can't have anything in this game. But at least it's not as bad as Sonic's, because he has a really good time on Not Perfect and You Can't Run. Very mediocre on Green Hill and nearly impossible to win on Hill Gym, but still very killable if they make a single mistake. I debated putting Knuckles here because it's Knuckles and, you know, he's tougher than leather, you know. Unlike Sonic, he doesn't chuckle, he'd rather flex his muscles Knuckles is the most balanced last man standing, which is why he's actually pretty low. He has to survive for a while. It's like actually the third longest last man standing in the game. His moves do stun for a long time, but are incredibly predictable, and on certain maps he can cling and glide, but that can just be unreliable or completely useless, like it is on Green Hill. He has like nowhere to cling and glide. Plus, since he does lack a very good mobility option, he can't really get away after stunning the killer. So again, he gets put into the whole thing's a chase thing. You know, there's very little downtime in a Knuckles last man standing, and this does make his LMS feel so very epic, but it also does make it fairly weak in comparison to later characters. Besides, you aren't getting your best stun anyway, the fire punch, unless you charge it while the EXE grabs you. Most Knuckleses aren't gonna do that though. They're gonna try to counter, and yeah, EXE can predict that, and then you can do the predicting of the predict. I'm not gonna do this again. No, fuck you. It's still winnable if you have the skill, but you gotta outplay the EXE a lot more than you have to do with other characters. I just want an excuse to show off my baby rabbit. Cream is actually an interesting case where she's either invincible or easy pickings, but I put her above Knuckles because she is basically invincible and not perfect and you can't run, unless they have less brain cells than I do. And hers is actually the second longest last man standing in the game, only behind Sonic's at 3 minutes and 36 when it starts. Hill Gym can be a struggle, but you do have enough spots to do some good loops while you can greed your dodges. And since you have 3 and can't be charged while you have them, you can heal enough to have like an extra hit before you die in time, before they get rid of all the dodges. Fun fact, she's actually the second tankiest character in LMS without resistance or heals. Since she has the dodges, it takes her 11 times to die. Compare that to the third place, which is Knuckles or Tails without their punch resistance or whatever, who are tied for third. Funnily enough, she actually survives the same amount of times that Knuckles does with his punch resistance, because she has her dodges. So even with its punch resistance, she can survive longer because of her heal. None of this is to say she can't be killed unless it's not perfect or you can't run, but she is a nuisance in last man standing most of the time. Metal Sonic is the tankiest character in LMS, full stop. He can take a total of 16, 17 hits depending on RNG, because he takes between 9 and 11 per hit, and he can get a heal off while running for an extra 1. Since his LMS is actually very short, being the second shortest in the game, meaning that for most of it you can actually just hold a single direction and let EXE hit you for that speed boost. You can also stun EXE for a while too to get extra heals off if you fall below 140 HP. However, the one downside is if you get hit out of an ability, you take massive damage. But usually that won't happen, especially if you play it smart, and while he might have entirely chase-based LMS, it works for Metal because he has so much HP and damage resistance, you kind of have to root force him. He's still killable, but at least he's not map dependent. He can do well on all of them, and that's why he's number 3. Eggman's LMS is different because he's basically unkillable if you know what you're doing. It's the average length, it's like about the same as Knuckles' I think. And his cooldowns are actually somewhat long, except for his double jump and regular jump. They're like a second, 8 seconds. That's stupid. The thing about Eggman though is that all of his maps are playgrounds. He doesn't have map dependency in the slightest. He has spots on every map, and he can go where he pleases. He has an answer for everything EXE can try against him. You try to grab him, he has shield. Chasing him, he has jetpack boost. He has neither. He'll break your ankles into next week because he's in the air longer than he is on the ground. His jump spots can be spammed and are quite insane actually, especially on You Can't Run. And while he does take less hits to kill, that is assuming that you actually hit him. You can't hit the guy. You're not gonna kill him. 9 times out of 10, unless you have an Eggman with like less brain cells than the cream, yeah, you're not gonna win. I can't bring myself to hate him though, because his last man standing is actually a bop. I love it so much. I'm gonna be honest with you. I think everyone knew that this was coming. So, let me think. Where do I begin with Amy Rose, Miss Hammer Queen herself? For starters, let's look at the LMS time. 2 minutes 36 seconds when it starts. The ring spawns at 1 minute and 20 seconds. The ring is on the map longer than it's not. There's 4 seconds more of the ring being on the map than it not being during her LMS. Now, keep in mind, Amy's already a very strong character, especially with a good card deck, and even with a mediocre one, she can still win an LMS. Realistically, the only way that you lose if you have World and Strength, and you keep rolling that, that's probably gonna happen, honestly. That's happened at least once to me, but, yeah, I was joking about Metal being able to hold W in his LMS, but Amy can actually do it. Give her Fool and Sun, and she can. 100%. She has 2 stuns, by the way. 2, a great mobility option with Hammer Bounce, and can deny charge with Hammer Throw, and Hammer, because it just gives her iframes if she times it right, and just negate charge entirely. Which, might I add, is dumb. Hammer Throw can be used as a mine, and can hit you regardless of if it's moving on the ground or not. And this might be a placeholder theme, but as of right now, she can realistically win any LMS she gets in a public because of how pathetic the time is to kill her. Funnier still, like the theme that, that she has on YouTube is like 3 minutes and 30 seconds, which is like a way more reasonable time for her. So I don't know why she has such a small LMS. So, don't know about that one. She's not map dependent at all, Just, if you're playing 2011X, don't feel bad that you lost against Amy. She is actually stupid to go against in general. Yeah, just don't feel bad, bro. It was over before it even started. If you leave Amy for last, it's over. And that is every last man standing in the game ranked from worst to best. If there's any takeaway from this video, it's that Amy and Eggman are absolutely broken, and Sonic actually needs his LMS to be how it was when he had Speed of Sound. The hero of the game has the hardest LMS. How does that work? I don't fucking know. Oh well. Honestly, I would be fine with Sonic taking more damage, but like not 56. Make it like 32, like it is for Eggman. Make him take the same amount as Eggman does. That could be his guilt. Not fucking 56. That's so much. Anyway, rant over. Ladies and gentlemen, I am Sarcasm. If you like the video, like it. If you dislike it, dislike it. And I hope you have a wonderful day.